All right.
I think we'll go ahead and get started for today. Feel free, you don't have to sit down all the time. If you want to stand up, move around, we can make this an interactive kind of thing here. But I first want to thank you guys for all coming out. I'm Jared Weitzel. I'm the promoter here in Cincinnati for 2 bodybuilding shows, for the Cincinnati Natural in the spring and the Monster Mash Natural that's coming up here in October. Donna, if you want to introduce yourself.
I did individually, but that's okay. My name is Donna French, and I have 2 shows. Mine are in southern Indiana, so Jeffersonville, Indiana is just right across the bridge from Louisville, so not too far from here. Took me about an hour and a half to get here. Would have been a little bit less if I hadn't passed it and gone a little bit too far. But other than that, it's good. Mine are in June and in October as well. The spring one is the Sizzling Summer Classic, and the one in October is the Rocktober Classic. So.
And I'm Roy Thomas. I've been in bodybuilding and weightlifting for a long time. I'm 60 years old now, so it makes me about 45 years old. 45 years I've been in bodybuilding, and I've seen every generation come up. It's changed a lot, so, you know, they kind of have me here. I do 2 shows. I think you're going to cards. The Steel Valley Classic, that's going to be coming up November 19th, and I also do the Mr. and Ms. Ohio Classic. That's in June, so I'm going to be here doing this. I'm also a pro in the UFE, INBA, or INBF, WNBF, and the OCB, so I'm a master pro and a pro in those organizations. Yeah. You'll learn today.
And we had one more promoter. He had to step out at the last minute for some illness, but our promoter down in Kentucky is Josh Miller. He puts on a couple shows a year as well. So in the Midwest, we have lots of opportunities for people to get on stage, whether you're just an amateur athlete. My shows that I put on here locally are amateur only shows, but there's opportunities to go to some of these other shows that are nearby, and you have professional shows with amateur shows attached to them as well. So we'll talk about what does it mean to go pro, how do you go pro, once you are a pro, what does that make you eligible for, there's prize money that's available that's out there, but we want to spend some time answering any questions you guys have about bodybuilding. How do you get into it? How does a show run? How do you prep for a show? What is show day like? After a show. There's a lot of mental things, hormone changes that happen. We'll talk a little bit about that to kind of prepare people and really just help educate you to be mentally as well as physically prepared for a show. We had a last minute walk in here. This is Aaron Brooks. He's actually an NGA pro. So he was going to join us today, hopefully help answer some questions about his journey to becoming a pro and what he's about. But I'll let you go ahead if you want to introduce yourself a little bit.
So, my name's Aaron Brooks. As he said, I'm an NGA pro. Just won my pro card this past show in April. I've been competing since early 2020, so it's been quite a big journey in a very short amount of time. But yeah, it's about my story right there. So short and sweet. So.
Yeah, so we'll save him for a little bit later here that you guys can ask some questions, and as we're going along here and we're covering some topics, feel free, stop us, raise your hand, ask questions, make this interactive, make it for you to make sure your questions are answered, okay? So, I think my computer went to sleep probably on us, but the topics that we're gonna cover today, I'll just quickly. No, I don't think we really need it. When we get to a couple points, I do have a couple posing videos that will play so you guys can see what are the mandatory poses, and obviously it's a video. You can't ask them questions about why are you doing it this way, why are we doing it that way. We'll break it down and we'll help show you what are the poses about. And that's where hopefully someone like Aaron here, a recent competitor and a pro now, can maybe help us with some of those questions. Okay? So, Aaron, feel free, take a seat, join in. So, the topics for today, just to kind of give you guys a preview of where we're going, and we'll make sure that we answer your questions as we go through it. But I'm going to start off and talk about what is a bodybuilding competition, who's eligible to compete, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the different organizations that are out there. And then I'll talk a little bit just about the structure of a show. What is a bodybuilding show? Just so we have a basic framework to work within, and then we'll start breaking it down from there. We'll talk about the next topic, which is contest prep. So this will include things like nutrition, diet, training, what does it take to actually get to the stage? And Donna will cover that from a high level, and we'll all pitch in and help answer the questions. And then after that, then we'll talk about the judging criteria. I have some actual rule books printed out from the NGA here. So it's something we'll show you online. You can go download the full rule book. It's printed black and white. It's a PDF. Download it, save it. A lot of organizations don't publish what are the rules, what are the criteria. The organization that we work with is very transparent in that regard. It's written rules, this is the criteria, this is what the judges are looking for. So you get consistency from show to show. That you'll find out that going from one show to another, one judge is going to tell you, you need to be harder, you need to be bigger. You go to another show and they're going to say, you need to lean out a little bit more, and you're going to get conflicting information. So we'll talk about different organizations, different shows a little bit, just to prepare you for what's out there. Because we're a few promoters, there's people all over the US and all over the world that are promoting shows, and it can vary from region to region what's going on there. And the last part that we were going to spend some extra time on, which goes in with judging, is really the posing aspect of it. So we'll talk about mandatory poses and then also routines. So if you don't know what that is, we'll go into details about the show structure, what are mandatory poses for judging, what are individual posing routines or T-walks. We'll cover that as well. Okay? So, to get started then, the first section with a bodybuilding show. So a bodybuilding show, it's typically an all-day event. Normally it's broken into two sections, with the first half of the show being your pre-judging. So the show, either day of the show or more normally the day before the show, you're going to show up and you're going to check in for the show. At check-in, you should be expecting things like getting your height or weight depending on the division that you're in. Checking if you're in a master's division, or we're gonna have to check IDs to make sure that you're in the correct age range for a master's division. Also to note with master's divisions, one of the most common questions I get is someone who says, I'm 55. Can I only compete in the 50 and over division? No, you can also, there is a 40 and over division. If you think that you can also hang with the younger generation, feel free. Enter into multiple divisions that you're eligible for. That also means you can also cross over into open divisions. And so open divisions, as the name says, they're open to anyone. Anyone can compete in the open. So the recommendation I give, especially for new competitors, is that go compete in your open division and then cross over. There's typically a novice or a debut or a pure novice type division that's really structured around first-time competitors or more novice competitors that maybe have never won their class. You're gonna spend lots of time and effort getting ready for a show. Take every opportunity to be on stage and hone your skill. To show up and to enter into just one class, especially as a novice, you're missing an opportunity to get on stage more and relax, get more comfortable, to be ready to actually compete.
And one other thing I want to add. Now, I'm going to tell you a lot through the experiences that I've had over the last 45 years or so. Don't do too many of them. because we've had several people that went in 5 different categories.
Yep.
So they were on stage, they had to go back off, then they had to come right back on stage, and by the end of the show, they did not even compete in the last 2 finals, which they actually won. He's like, I'm tired, I'm going home.
Yeah.
And they left. So make sure that you have it at a fitness level too. Maybe 3 divisions you can go in, sometimes 4 divisions that you can go in. And we do the pre-judging. That's one thing. That's where all of the judging, that's where you win or lose a show. Because most of the judging is that first part of the show. So the 2 things that I just wanted to add to this, don't do too many of them, and don't be afraid just because you're a new person that you cannot go with the open divisions or the best that's out there. Just my last show, we had a newbie. He was his first time ever doing a bodybuilding show, and there was only 1 in his class. So I said, okay, we're going to put you with the others, but there was only a professional that came in bodybuilding. And that newbie, well, if they were to compare each other, he would have blew the professional away. So don't be afraid to take the next step and go into the open division, as long as well as the new divisions that you're in, the newbies.
And I would just add another thing too. It can be very deceiving. I think a lot of people think, okay, well, the open division is going to be the most competitive and is going to be the hardest. And I will tell you from personal experience as well, sometimes the master's classes can be the hardest, because sometimes those are the people who have been around doing it the longest. They have the most experience in terms of posing. They've been doing it the longest, so they are honed in on their body and their physique. So the whole point is not to try to position yourself to win so much as it is get the experience, get the stage time, get yourself comfortable with what you are, and then as you compete in other shows, you're going to have that opportunity to really think about winning and, maybe going pro or whatever your objective is. It's okay if your objective is only to get on stage. You are a winner if that's all you do. So I don't want to, sidestep that at all, because for some of us, just getting on stage and being the best that we can be is more than good enough. There are thousands of people who are not doing what you're doing just to get there. So make sure you're enjoying the show and putting yourself in a position so that you feel good about what you've put on stage. So.
And if you're newbie, I'm going to tell you what every single person tells me. I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. And they are so nervous. Get out there and do it anyway. Because everyone else around you, remember, they're new also. So you're going to be going in to a show that is with people of your peers. So don't be afraid. And there's been so many people that I'm just not ready, and they blew the show away. So be afraid, but do it anyway.
Yep. Yeah, one thing that you'll find at any of our shows is that we really try to make sure all the competitors are very comfortable, that we answer your questions and that we make sure that you are having a good time. Yes, it is a competition, and we expect the competitors to all push each other to be the best that you can be on that day. But at the same time, there's a camaraderie that will be built that day. It's really neat to see that, yes, you're competing with them, but go back, watch videos of our shows, and you'll see the camaraderie. Someone wins, someone loses, and they're hugging it out on stage, and it's not an adversarial type interaction whatsoever. We all have a lot of fun there, and we want you all to enjoy the experience.
You'll also find out that the people that you meet in bodybuilding, I look at my Facebook and my Instagram, that's all there is out there. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, God, I don't have any normal people. That's all there is, because I've made such good friendships with everyone, and that's, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 people that I've met through bodybuilding.
Yep. So I guess taking us back to the process then, so we went through kind of check-in, you're signing up for a show in different divisions. On day of show then, pre-judging. The first half of the show is where all of the competitors will come out with their classes, and you might be in one class, you might be in two classes, however many you sign up for. You'll come out with each of your classes. The judges will run you through all of your mandatory poses, and that's where all of the official judging is happening, through those mandatory poses. So that's where you really need to make sure you're hitting your peak. That's where you're gonna be placed 1 through 5 in that class. And so that's the pre-judging portion of it. So once that's done, typically there's an intermission. Some shows run as a straight through fashion. All that means is that as soon as you're done with mandatories, then they immediately switch in a straight through format. They go into giving awards right away. So depending on the size of the show and how it's run, you'll find both. You'll find traditional formats that it's a pre-judging, an intermission, break, and then a finals. You'll also find shows that, like I said, run as a straight through format, is one straight through event. They'll flip right from mandatory pre-judging to finals, one after another. Me personally, I've been to both kinds of shows. There's pros and cons to both. I think a lot of it depends on the show itself and how many people are competing and how well they can run a show. Come on in, here for the bodybuilding seminar. So the traditional format, you have pre-judging, all the mandatory poses, judging's occurring. Finals for a show happen after that. In finals, there's two main things that happen here. Awarding all of the class awards 1 through 5, but also any divisions that are broken up into multiple classes, either by height or weight, or the master's classes by age divisions. What will happen with those groups where, let's take bodybuilding as an example. You have lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight. You have a winner of each of those classes. But at the end of the day, we still want an overall bodybuilding winner to be crowned. So we'll have a pose down of each class winner so that we can still have an overall bodybuilding champ. So the way that works is that the winner of each class for each weight division, in this case for bodybuilding, they'll all come off stage. The expediters will pull all those people to the side that are the winners. And once all of the bodybuilding open classes are done, they'll send all the winners back out on stage. And now the judges are going to put them through mandatory poses again. They're going to ask for additional poses to try to figure out who's the best of the best. So at finals, there is still judging that's going to happen. So I know that's a confusing part for a lot of people, that they don't understand that at finals, don't go out to lunch after pre-judging and just start tossing down burgers and fries because you know it's just awards at the end. If you think you're gonna win your class, you still need to be at your peak condition for finals. So don't forget that one caveat, that finals, there could be a pose down with all of the class winners from your division. But other than a pose down for an overall award, judging is complete in pre-judging. Make sense? Any questions so far? You guys are being real quiet.
For the pre-judging for the different class divisions, and then for the finals with the different body weights, you're saying there's a pre-judging for that final?
No, so typically how a show runs, the exact groups that you go on stage with in pre-judging is the exact same groups that you go on stage at finals with. So it's the same group, you're just going out at finals to get your awards within that class.
And then in the finals, the winners of each of those classes, now they will have another show for themselves. They will go out against each other. Lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight. Who's the best of the best?
Yep.
That's one post down, not
Yep.
Now,
Yeah, so I guess I haven't broke down the classes yet. We'll get more of the details there, but typically our shows, we'll start on the men's side. You'll have men's bodybuilding, which is the the most muscular, most definition and striation to your physique. The next class would be your men's classic physique, which is similar to bodybuilding, but we're looking for a more classic style or look. So think back to the 70s and Arnold's, Frank Zane's, where they have good size, good muscle maturity, maybe not as striated, not as dry, but you're looking more for a balanced physique overall, not just a mass monster, someone who is just as lean as they possibly can be, but you're looking more for the aesthetics in that one a little bit.
You know, they actually created the classic physique because these guys were getting so big. And you have to understand too, a lot of people you see on television, who do you see on television? Those big mass monsters, because that's the freaky ones that you want to see. But there's a lot of bodybuilders who don't want that. And they said, I can't achieve that, there's no way. And there's a difference between natural and enhanced bodybuilding. So most of the well-known people are enhanced. The people who are not as well known but work just as hard. So when they brought in the classic physique, it was for that specific purpose. You have a height and a weight class, and you just can't come in at 5'2", 310 pounds, ripped and full of muscle. You know, so you have to have a height and a weight for those. So that brought in the classic physique.
Yep. So bodybuilding, classic physique, and then men's physique. So men's physique, this is where you would see competitors in board shorts. And so this is more of a beach body type look is what you're going for with men's physique then. So those are the three main categories there for men. And then on the women's side, again, starting from the most muscular, most defined, you have women's physique. The next class would be women's figure, and then there's also women's bikini. So those are the three main classes there. Depending on the organization that you work with, within the NGA, there's a couple other classes of you can offer fitness at a show. There's also bikini model, but you have to check with your organization in the show as to what they're offering. But the 6 that I just named, those are the primary classes that you'll typically find at all of our shows around here. And then you might occasionally find some of those lesser known categories, depending on what people are looking for.
The other thing I would just say about the different categories, not everyone is suited for every one of those categories. So it's not just a matter of how long you do it or how hard you work. Sometimes your body type dictates where you're going to be the most competitive. And so we'll talk a little bit about our recommendations of working with a coach, getting advice in terms of where you fall, you know, what your physique actually is going to be suited to, that is going to help you be more successful in any category. Some people just are not suited for bikini. They're just not built that way. They're going to do much better in figure. They have more muscle mass. They go out more lean. They may not have the personality to be comfortable doing bikini or doing some of the divisions. When they're standard posing, that's one thing. When you have to come up with your own routine and put persona in it, that's a whole nother level. So really work with somebody that will help you find the right category for you as well, so that you can feel successful and be the best that you can be, because that's really what this is all about, especially in the natural category. It isn't about trying to become something that you're not. It's about sort of, I think, whose trophy was your trophy? Somebody's trophy. They were chiseling out their person out of a piece of stone. I mean, there's a famous piece of art that does that. That's what you should be thinking about for yourself. You're making that artwork out of your own body, and that's cool. I did want to just kind of go back and I'm a structure freak. So pre-show, the night before, when you're checking in, you often will check in at a hotel. On occasion, you will check in at the facility that you're going to compete at. You're going to want to make sure you know where both of those places are so that you're not freaking out. Especially if there's weather involved and we have tanning and all that other stuff going on, you're going to be like in shock mode because you're going to have to figure out how not to have your tan run. So you want to make sure you know where both locations are and which location you're going to be checking into. When you check in, it's not only checking in, it's checking in to make sure that we know you're there, and it's checking in to make sure that we know which divisions you're gonna be competing in, so that we have that set up correctly, so that there's no confusion backstage when we start to get to the competing part. We're gonna check height and weight. You may, in some organizations or some competitions, they may check your suit to make sure that it is appropriate fit and appropriate for the category. So make sure when you come to check-ins that you have your suit with you just in case.
Yep. Please read every show you'll have a sign-up form, and there's always instructions there that tell you what you need to bring for check-in for that show. That's a very good point. I always have people scrambling at check-in, women in particular, that for my show, that's normally what we're checking, is women's bottoms seem to be shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and we're trying to tell them, no, this is a family event. You still need to cover up. We are not putting string bikinis on stage, so we need to check some of those things. Typically, I haven't had issues with men's suits, so it's more that we focused in on the women's side and making sure that there is some coverage there, but follow your show promoter's check-in list that will be provided. And if you don't see one, ask them. Reach out to your show promoters. I know I love getting messages from competitors because I'd much rather have you guys confident and comfortable when you arrive versus the unknown of what am I going to experience. Yeah, so the question is around don't come in looking like a stripper. So I've heard that comment before. It shows that I've been at. The way that I say it for my show is it's more around coverage is what we're talking about, and the way that you present yourself on stage. If you go read my entry form, it talks about stage presence, and it says when you're on stage, there's no booty shakes, there's no air kisses. This is a physique competition. This isn't about trying to sexualize the body on stage. That's not what this is about. So it's about your presentation, but it's also about your suit. So your suit, just because you show more skin, is not going to make the judges rank you higher. Please tastefully cover yourself. And like I said, in my show, the only issue I've really had is around women's suits getting smaller and smaller. The men's side, they're more, or maybe there's less options for different cuts.
There's 3 different standards.
Yeah.
And you usually don't, as long as everything's covered up, you know. So
Yeah.
and the biggest part is a bikini, what do they call it?
The Brazilian cut or the micro bikini, and I'm like, no, that is not acceptable.
Most of that also comes down to the posing. We will talk about posing with females, and men, we usually, there's not too many section poses. I know actually, when we do come to posing, in the old day, there was a pose for men that showed their hamstrings, and they had to take that out. That's the only pose that we could not do for men, so they just changed that. We'll show you that later.
So it's sure you just want to embarrass yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about projecting yourself. This, like I said, a physique competition. We're there to judge and admire the physiques themselves. This is not a sexualized event. I try to tell my competitors when they come out that this is a family environment. There will be kids out there rooting for their parents on stage, so think about how you're projecting yourself. This is an event that's open to all ages. So keep that in mind as you're preparing for what you're going to do on stage.
Honestly, I mean, in my experience in the years that I've been doing this, most of the time things like what Roy's talking about are more from people not knowing how to pose correctly than it is about people trying to be sexual in some way. However, just be conscious of the fact that you are in dental floss already, and if you do something wrong and you're elevated, there might be some stuff going on that you don't even intend to have happen. So we're trying to give you guys the benefit of that, because you don't really realize, and sometimes you get these bathing suit cuts and they're so small, you get up on stage, you bend over too much, there's nothing left to imagination.
We've had that happen.
So, and we've had that on the guys' side too. We've had some reveals. So some wardrobe malfunctions, I'll just put it that way. Yeah. So the thing is that we're trying to make this fun for you. The last thing you want to do is go up there and embarrass yourself or embarrass your family and your friends. So a lot of this is to protect you, not to necessarily worry about whether or not you are trying to be a stripper or blow kisses to the judges. I think that we try to make it tongue-in-cheek so that it is not so embarrassing. But the point is that there are guidelines for the suits to help protect you and to help keep the audience comfortable. The last two things for when you're checking in, if you're doing a natural competition, you're gonna probably either have a urine test or a polygraph test. That will typically happen when you do check-in or sometime the night before. So that's something else that you're gonna be, need to be aware of, what the guidelines are and where you need to be. There's typically an additional fee for that, so that's something you need to be aware of. And then your tanning will happen the night before, typically. There are some exceptions to that, but most of the time there's a legitimate reason for doing that. You're gonna tan the night before. We'll talk about all the things you have to do to make sure that tan holds up as best as it can overnight while you're sleeping. And then you're gonna be touched up in the morning before the prejudging happens. So those are kind of the basic things that happen the night before, and then you can kind of chill. In terms of the awards, just to reiterate that last piece, is within each of the categories, we award 1 through 5, and then an overall in a category. So we talked about the 6 categories. Sometimes there are divisions within the category. Even with like bikini, open, you might have it by height, A, B, and C. So there are other categories, depending upon how big the show is, that it might be divided out into, and then we keep honing it in until you get an overall in each of the 6 categories.
Are there any coaches out here? Are any of you guys coaches also?
Trainers, coaches, yeah.
Well, the reason I ask that is because everyone's at a different level. Everyone that's coming in here isn't just their first time, and you're coming here, like I said, for different reasons. So we want to make sure that all questions are
Okay, so I think we've covered the outline of how does a show run. We've talked about check-in, prejudging, and finals. I guess the one last thing to cover after that then is that sometimes at the end of a show, it's something that I started at my show, I try to put a best in show. So trying to take the open overall winners, so the best open bodybuilder, the best figure open winner, the best bikini, take all of the open overall winners and have them compete on stage for one final pose down. That sounds kind of crazy, like how are you gonna judge this? And this one, maybe I have a little fun with it, but I challenge my judges to pick who best represents their class. When you look at the criteria in front of you for that class, who best represented their class out of everyone there, and try to give one final award for the best in show. So that's something else that you might see happen at a show as well. But then after a show, the only thing afterwards is looking for feedback. While you're at a show and a judge just saw you on stage, most shows will let you come down after finals are complete. Please don't go down while the show's still going on. Judges are busy. But once the show's complete, please take the opportunity, calm down, talk to the judges while you are fresh in their mind, while they can look at you still in your suit that day and give you feedback. They can look at you and say, you need to bring up your hamstrings. You were really lacking there. That's really where you lost out on this one. Or maybe they say, maybe your tan was just off. You need to really consider a different type of tan to look your best on stage. They can give you that feedback real time, day of the show. Certainly we try to help out after the show to get additional feedback if someone missed out on that opportunity, but it's never going to be as good as the feedback you get day of the show right there on site. Please take advantage of it.
This is the perfect time. I was going to put this in during the judging. Do it right after the show. I've been a head judge for 9-10 years or so, and I've been a regular judge for a long time also. And I will get a phone call 2.5-3 weeks later. I was number 15 on the show a few weeks ago. What did you think, or what improvements have I had? And it's it's out of my mind. I've judged two other shows by then, and that recall, you get the best information, and you need to use that information to go to the next show, because most likely that's your downfall, or that's your weak point. If you have to come up in your posterior chain, get your glutes a little better. But if you do that 3 weeks away, the judges, sometimes I don't even call the people back, because we have our notes, we have all that stuff ready right then and there. So emphasize, see the judges directly after the show.
And I have competed in other organizations where they don't allow that. And some of them require you to email the judges. I'm with Roy. You're going to get your best feedback immediately because it's fresh in the minds. And so I think a lot of times, I always felt like in those other organizations, I got very generic feedback because probably they didn't remember me. I mean, let's just be honest, they're busy too. So if that is the case though for you, I would recommend making sure you have some photographs so that you can send that to remind the judge and get as best of feedback you can in those situations. Those would be the instances where you're maybe competing in a federation where they will not allow immediate feedback. And like I said, there are some of those out there that will just say, no, you're not going to talk to the judge today. You got to email them.
But that's their process.
That's their process. Our process is
right afterwards.
Yeah, because we know how valuable that can be. So.
No matter what place you take and how mad you are or how angry that you didn't take first, and your mom and dad both said that you were the best one out there, you've got to get out there. You've got to get out there. On stage.
Yeah, so real quickly, I'll talk about those two, or backstage and on stage really quickly at a competition. So backstage, when you go backstage for the competition, for pre-judging in the morning, you're going to scope out your space, and you're going to make yourself comfortable. You might do it with a teammate or other people that you know, but you're going to scope out a place and you're going to have all your stuff. You might have a blanket, a pillow. You're going to bring bands for you to warm up with. You're going to bring your nutrition.
Bands or something backstage. People are always looking for a way to warm up. A lot of shows, I know we try to bring bands and things back there for competitors in case someone forgets something. But if everything that we're talking about for day of show is to reduce your stress. You don't want to stress yourself out by bringing too much stuff back there. I see some of these ladies come in with 2 suitcases, a mirror under their arms, and they're bringing their whole hotel room with them. And it's like, I'm sure this is just stressing you out even more. You want to be relaxed day of show because, believe it or not, all that stress actually affects your physique. Your cortisol levels will change. You will look worse on stage the more stressed out you are. You want to remain calm, you want to be able to relax, and part of it's knowing what's going to happen, mentally being prepared for what's going to happen at the show.
Now this is from a guy, so I'm talking to you. You want your mirror, you want your makeup, you want some of that stuff. You want a little bit of extra stuff than what the guys typically do, because that is going to reduce your stress level because you've got all the stuff you need. Your eyelashes, your jewelry. I mean, it's more for girls. This is way harder, guys. Y'all got it easy. You got trunks and you get up there and you look good. Screw you. We got a whole lot more work to do.
Well, remember this also. You have prepped, you have worked out. There's nothing that you can do now except eat the proper amount of food at the right time in order to have the best show. You can't train. You can't get larger or anything else. You're not going to get any more striated. So just make sure that everything is nice and easy and prepare. Prior planning prevents poor performance. Make sure that you prepare for everything. And if you don't, ask someone else that's next to you. They probably have it.
Last few things on backstage, make sure you have your numbers. That will also reduce your stress, because if you don't have your numbers, trust me, you'll be freaked out because nobody knows who you are.
Listen to where they tell you to put the numbers. It's usually on the
left side,
straight down,
left hip, and then
the
back middle.
Right in the middle. So that's where the judges, we cannot see it as a judge, or when you're posing, we'll get into this and you're hiding it. We can't really judge you. We'll have to tell you
to
make
move.
sure that we can see it. So we'll get that in.
And then the last piece is you're going to have people back there called expediters. You may not know them as expediters. Sometimes we introduce them as that. Those are the people who are going to make sure that you show up where you're supposed to be on time and on stage. So you need to make sure that you hone in on who those people are and that you listen intently for them. The last thing that we want as promoters especially and as fellow bodybuilders is for you to miss your class. And we can't hold up a class if you just aren't around. So we will announce and we will announce and we will announce and we will do our best to get you there. But that's partially your job too, is just keep in know what the lineup is and know where you're supposed to be when.
Yeah. I'll give you just one example of that. At one of my shows, I had a competitor that he was just trying to relax, get in his zone. So he went and he walked down a hallway, went under to a staircase and just kind of sat back there, put on his headphones and just kind of zoned out. He had his music on so loud, he could not hear the expediters yelling down the hallway, "Where is this competitor?" They're walking up and down trying to find him. He's just sitting under the steps with his headphones on, missed his class. The show will not stop for any competitor. Please pay attention. Yes, listen to your music. Please don't have it blasting. Please don't put on your most noise reducing, blocking out headphones that we can't find you. Please listen.
I have many stories and experiences of this also. I'm included. One of the shows that I was in, they said they're going to take a break and then, rest up. We're going to take a half an hour and then we're going to come back and start with my class. So I thought, okay, everything's cool. I was in the audience and I saw this guy come out and wow, he was in my class. And then the next guy come out, oh, he was in my class too. And then it was my class. They had started to do my class instead. So I threw all my stuff down and ran on stage, and I was the last one, but they would have just kept going without me. And I've seen a lot of people go to the restroom. You go to the restroom, one of our last shows, and as a head judge, my job is to keep these people going. There's a whole show out here. We're not going to wait for one person's mistake. Sorry. Get you next time.
But you can avoid that. I don't want to say that to scare you. It's just be aware and know that that is something that you have to be, and good expediters will tell you several classes ahead, hey, stay in the area. Hey, don't go too far. Hey, you got about 10 minutes. Because we know, I've done that too, we know about how long it's going to take for this to go through each time. And it'll be different in the morning than in the evening, but we'll talk you through that. I think that was about it. We're gonna go into.
So that's the structure of a show.
One quick question: is it common now too to have they had the bodybuilding, the whole thing, but then they also had like arm wrestling going?
So you're talking more like the sports festival.
And they had like some nutrition stuff going.
Yeah. So.
That was all the main stage. But
Yeah.
It wasn't powerlifting, but they did have arm wrestling going on.
Yeah. So. All of our shows are different. Obviously, the focus of all of what we do, yes, the main stage is the bodybuilding, the figure physique competition. Depending on what we want to do, we might partner with another organization, run an arm wrestling competition, same venue, same place.
They'll do different things, yeah.
Powerlifting, strongman. Yep. Yeah, a lot of it's just logistics. Personally, I like the idea. I've been talking with the strongman competition about running some events at the same thing because they're kind of related. One of them is more about just brute strength, doesn't matter what you look like. Another one is about looking good. I don't care how much you can lift. But we try to make them fun events to come to, and I think that's one way that we try to do that. So having sponsors that are there that are introducing you to whether it's nutritional products, whether it's clothing products, whatever it is related to the contest, we do try to bring people out like that to make it a more interactive event for also the audience coming in, who a lot of people coming in the audience are people, some of them are there just to support their friends and family. Some of them are looking to learn more about what is a bodybuilding show. So yes, we're all for making these bigger events.
I know for my Steel Valley
packed. The night show was pretty loud and it was pretty packed. And it was really, I mean, you got the butterflies though before you over here and cheering.
Yeah, and that's the kind of shows you want to go to. Yeah, as a competitor, but also as an audience member, you want to go to a show that is entertaining. Yeah, that you can feel the energy there. The music's going, the people are having fun on stage, the audience is having fun. Not every show's like that. And that's why we say, don't necessarily just go stick to any organization and just say, this is the only one I ever compete in. Find a promoter who cares about the event and wants to put on a great event. Not just for the competitors, not just for the audience, but for everyone there to make it fun.
I had a quick question for Donna, just really quick. I saw your guys' website for the Rocktoberfest. You mentioned the night before the tanning and drug testing. Is there anything else that goes at the hotel that you guys have posted on your website? Is it like everybody stays there, hangs out, chows or whatever? Is it just strictly tanning, drug testing?
We actually, my show in particular, we actually check in at the venue and not at the hotel. We've talked about this as promoters because the tanning is becoming more and more difficult to do at the hotels just because of the restrictions. They're concerned about leaving residue in their rooms. But I have the luxury of being able to do that at my facility. So we will do tanning, check-in, everything at the facility, and then you can go to the hotel or wherever you're staying and just chill. There's really nothing else that happens that night. The night before, because everybody, we're gonna get into this with the prep discussion, every coach is gonna have a different regimen for you the night before. So they may tell you to eat, they may tell you to go to bed early, they may tell you to stay up late, they may tell you to drink a glass of wine. I mean, who knows what they're gonna tell you. Everybody has their own strategy for how to bring the best thing to the stage. And so to try to do an event the night before is putting people at a disadvantage for being able to do whatever their coach is telling them to do. So it really should be your quiet time in your room or in your space doing whatever it is. You're an athlete. You're competing as an athlete, so that night before is all about that and not socialization. So we don't do anything else.
You might want to hurry things up.
So in terms of prep, getting ready, I mean, this is going to be very general information, and the reason that it's very general is because of the thing I just said, which is I highly recommend that if you are wanting to compete, that you get a coach. Whether it is a coach that is local to you, that you work with actually in lifting and some of the other things, or whether it's someone who gives you a plan and you follow the plan, you need a coach to walk you through this process. The coach is going to give you a nutrition plan, maybe several over the course of the time that you prep. You may prep anywhere from, I've heard of as little as 8 weeks, which is tight. You had better have competed before if you're going to try to do that. I have actually competed. It was one of my best shows. Don't know why, but you can do it that low if you've been competing for a while. Up to 16 weeks or more, and that's just the pre-prep. I'm not talking about getting ready to compete. It may take several years before you are ready to compete for that first time. And then you're talking about a focused 16-week period that you are going to be, this is what I'm doing. I am training. It's just like you're training for a marathon. You're on it. Your nutrition is spot on. You don't skip a workout. So you're going to look for a coach that can give you a nutrition plan that might be cycled so that you are going through different periods of training throughout those 16 weeks until you get to the competition. You're going to look for the same thing in terms of workouts that is going to focus on building your body to the appropriate category of what you're looking for. So you're not going to be like, well, here I'm going to work out in general, and then at the end I'm going to decide which category I'm going to be in. You need to have that decided and work on your physique with that in mind. You might need to really get a narrow waist to be in physique so that you look like that beach body guy. If you're going to lift a different way, you may end up being too wide to compete well in that category. So you need to have that category in mind It is okay if you have maybe 2 categories that are similar in mind and you see how your body reacts and then you make the judgment call at the end. But you want to have that narrowed down a little bit, and if you've competed in the past, you better have it at the beginning because you want to hit it as hard as you can. So have that coach, make sure you've got your nutrition plan honed in, make sure you've got your workouts. You're probably going to have what we call peak week or hell week, depending upon your perspective. That last week, when you are getting as tight and as lean and as dehydrated as you can possibly be, so you can show the best package on stage. So that last week, if it's your first time going through, just deal with it. The first 3 days, you're gonna be, what the hell did I do for the last 16 weeks? I'm gonna quit. I swear to you, you will, those first 3 days. Day 4 rolls around and your body is gonna be like, I got this. So hang in until day 4, and if you're still feeling that way, call me because I'll get you through day 5 and day 6. You'll make it. If you've done 16 weeks, don't give up at the last minute, right? So it is very hard. You are dehydrating your body. You're going through that process. Your diet is most likely going to change that last week as well and be more restricted. And then you're gonna have what you need to do the night before and the day of nutrition that is super important as well. Your coach needs to guide you through that for your division, your body type, how your body reacts, and your personal plan. So I just, like I said, highly recommend that you do that. In terms of...
And we're not here to necessarily go promote individual coaches or anything, but if you guys need recommendations, please reach out to one of us, use us as a resource. Personally, for me, I'm not a gym owner, I'm not a trainer, I only promote shows. Just being a competitor myself, just wanting to put on good shows, I have no skin in the game. I will point you to a coach that I think can help you, but please, if you don't have someone that's helping guide you, reach out for advice and we can try to point you to someone.
In addition to the nutrition, the workouts, which is what it's really all about is your physique and you getting to be the best person that you can be. However, there are other components that you're gonna wanna do in order to show that off. So you're gonna wanna do posing practice. You're gonna wanna do pose, you will likely wanna get a posing coach. You need somebody that is an impartial person to look at you and say, turn a little bit that way, bring your toe up, angle it this way, your shoulders are too rounded, bring it up. You know, all of those things make a huge difference in all the work that you've put into your physique and making sure that you show it the best that you can. So posing is another huge component. Don't wait until the last couple of weeks and then throw posing in at the end. Posing needs to start at the same time as all the other training, and you work through the whole thing. You need to be just as comfortable with your posing as you are with the way you look.
So that should be part of your prep. Posing is part of prep. So it's not just nutrition, it's not just workout. Posing should be in your schedule that you are doing it regularly.
I would say equal physiques, better poser would be the winner.
Not even equal. I've seen worse physiques win because they knew how to pose better than the other person. Someone who couldn't show off their physique, you could see the potential there, they just didn't know how to flex their serratus or something. They just didn't know how to do it. If they did, they would have won. But
and I'll tell you the importance of posing, this always pops in my head. There was a gentleman who walked on stage. He shared with us that, and I've seen him in many shows, he has the most cut body. He was by far the best person on stage if you were just looking at them like we are here in a crowd. But when he went on stage, he was the worst poser that I've ever seen. He went from a first place to 4th place from posing. And just as the others are sharing, I've seen other people with, it's your confidence level. Sometimes posing is the difference between winning. You know, everyone looks better than I do out there. I'm not as good. And you know, my shoulders go down and my posture comes out. As a judge, I see you the second you start walking on stage, sometimes before you walk on stage. I see what you're doing behind stage, but posing is a crucial part of winning. But as I said, this one guy, he went from first place by far to a 4th place because his posing, lack of better words, sucked.
Yeah. And that gets, I mean, posing is important regardless, but as you get into bigger and bigger competitions, the posing is critical as well because you won't even be noticed. If your posing is off, it's like your first criteria and you wipe it off to the side and you're like, okay, now I'm gonna figure out who wins. Because you've got to, as a judge, having sat in that seat as well as a promoter's seat, we're talking about onion skins here of difference between you guys. You've all worked really, really hard. There are gonna be some that are extreme and you're gonna know that they're not in the top 2 or 3. But when it comes down to it, you have to start making decisions about how to figure out first, second, third, and fourth, fifth. So if you're in a big class and you have to figure out who's gonna be first call out for the top 5, posing's critical to be noticed. So we say all that. Did everybody get the memo that posing is important? I think we've beat that dog to death. So we'll carry on here. The last thing is your suit does matter, especially for women competitors, and your jewelry. It is another thing that sets you apart. The colors matter. Get a coach that will help you find the right things that will work for you and that will work on stage. You will often hear that blues and greens are great, but it's like everybody and their brother does blues and greens now, so I'm seeing a whole lot of other colors come up on stage, but it's gotta be the one that's gonna show you off, okay? Guys.
Black.
You're welcome. Color doesn't really matter though, but most of the time you will see black in the guys, except for board shorts. The board shorts are more colorful.
It matters a lot less on the guy's side. Yeah.
I mean, the guy who won pro at my very first show, he had on burgundy velvet trunks.
Yep.
Looked great on him.
With
so
the guys,
it does not matter.
Much who has the best body, and as a judge, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. But those little teeny subtleties really do help out. Thank you.
All right.
So high-level contest prep, any questions? Covered just high-level nutrition, please find a coach. One last note on that though, once you do find a coach, please zone other people out. You're gonna go to the gym and you're gonna have 5 people come up to you in a day and say, oh man, you're looking great, but you should go do this, or oh, have you tried eating this or that to help you get leaner? You gotta zone it out. If you start listening to too many people and you're following plan A and then somebody's telling you, oh, add this or change that, you're now not following that plan. And now your coach doesn't know where you are. If you're gonna pay someone and they're gonna be your coach, follow your coach. Listen to your coach. You went to them for a reason. If you have an issue, talk to them. Otherwise, follow the plan.
Right.
Don't deviate and mix a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Follow a plan. You'll be much more successful following a single plan versus deviating.
And each coach has several stages that they put you through. Yep. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there. I look at them every day. Some coaches, I mean, I've had a lot of education in it, but I've also had a lot of experience in this bodybuilding and physique arena. And some of them are right on, but it may not be what you need. You have to really zone in on what you need versus what other people are telling you. I know as a coach, one of my clients came to me and they said, well, I just heard this from, do you know this coach in Australia? Her name is like, oh no, I don't know this coach from Australia. What does this look like? But there's a lot of information. Some of it is basic. You'll see a lot of trends that happen. The trends I've seen since, I've been doing this since 78. So I've seen a lot of trends come and then they go and then they come back again and then they go. So you find these circuits, these circles that come back and they go. You have to find out what is it that fits you, not someone else. There's different physiques, there's different diets. I have gone through so many diets. All of them worked for me. Every single one of them worked.
The other thing is just, oh, sorry, Roy, go ahead. I was just gonna say, when you find stuff on YouTube or Instagram or any of those different social media things, I mean, the trend now is for personal trainers, for them to make money, they're gonna give you something, but they're not gonna give you the whole thing. So what you're gonna get is you're gonna get a tidbit, but that tidbit might not fit with the plan that your coach has. So it might be a good tidbit, but then hire that coach that you just got the tidbit from. Pay them to give you the whole plan. You want to have a complete plan that is for you. So whether it's the coach that you have or you decide to change, just stick with one plan. When you start a la carte, then now you're the coach, and you don't want to be your own coach. Trust me. I coach other people. When I compete, Josh is my coach. I don't coach myself. That is not the role. My role is competitor at that point. So if you know other coaches that have other coaches, then you know the importance of a coach.
And if you've been on a diet before, the best thing to do is not to think for yourself when you are low on carbohydrates.
I can personally attest. I did it once, I'll never do it again.
Yeah, don't make any decisions peak week.
Go over the next part. Basically, it's on judging. And as I shared, I've been with this for quite some time. I'm a pro in 3 different arenas. I've done it for quite a long time. But judging criteria, I'm just going to go over the 6 main classes that we have: men's bodybuilding, men's classic physique, and then regular physique. And then I'm going to go over the women's physique, figure, and bikini. Those are the basics of what we're looking for. So in bodybuilding, differentiate not natural or steroid users and natural bodybuilders. You cannot look at the steroid users and say, I'm not good enough because you're natural. So what we are looking at on stage, it's size. Size does matter here. And then our criteria goes to who has the best build put together. When I first started this, I got started because the Greek and the Roman and the Egyptians, those statues look so beautiful, and it just enticed me. So what we're looking for is who is the best person on stage at that time, and who are you competing against. Don't go back and say, I have to go tell you about this experience that I had. I was only the announcer at one time with the show, and one of the guys came up afterwards and said, look at these pictures. And I said, I don't need to look at pictures. I saw you on stage. The other guy was larger, a little bit larger, and he says, no, he wasn't. And then I just kept going. He was a little more cut than you were. No, he wasn't. Look at these pictures. And he flowed better. And that's when his mom and dad and his cousins and his entourage started getting against me. I said, look, get better next time and you may win. So no matter what others are saying, you have to impress or look the best for the judges. Bodybuilding, we look for size, we look for cuts, we look for proportion and symmetry. Does everything go together? You just can't have a huge chest, but no arms, no shoulders. You have to have legs. And if looking for judges, I see a lot of contests that come down to the wire. And here's some things that when training, you turn them around as a judge, and this is where I like to see the best, because you see everyone this way, but when they turn around, a lot of people don't train those areas, that posterior chain. Striated glutes are in. If you guys want tips, get striated glutes. This Christmas tree area, make sure you get that well developed. And your hamstrings. Those are the places where judges really look to find out if something is real close. We were talking about a judging a little while ago, and it was a Columbus show. Everything was so even with these 2 gentlemen bodybuilding. One pose, one person looked better, the next pose, the next person looked better, and they kept going back and forth, back and forth. Presentation, everything's together. I want you to guess, what made the difference between what all 8 judges looked at and made the criteria? Actually, he works out with Jimbo. What's the other guy that's always with?
Sean.
And actually, it was Sean.
Yeah.
This, I don't know if you remember, or I don't know if you were even around there. But it came down to, because each of them, it was tied. We judged them 3 different times, and they tied each time. You know what it came down to? And 3 judges said the same thing. Sean smiled, and he had this big smile, and he had whiter teeth, and he won by the skin.
When it was literally that close, because like we said, year after year, we're trying to push people to the criteria. And in this case, the gentleman that he's mentioning is very close to what we consider the ideal. He's won numerous national titles year after year, and the person who he was competing with, they are that close. They are both embodying that ideal, and it can come down to something that small. Someone who just gave more confidence on stage. They were actually smiling, having a good time, because whether we want to or not, mentally, that person is going to be more appealing to a judge than someone who is sitting there grimacing the whole time that they're on stage, just trying to pose as hard as they can. The person who makes it look easy, if physiques are exactly identical and equal, the person who makes it look easy and is having fun is probably gonna win.
And I'll share with you, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I'll get your question afterwards. When I go on stage, many of the judges come back and said, you made it look effortless. And I said, it was because I'm having fun out there. You must have fun. If this is a job for you and you're depending on it that much, you're not going to do as well. Have fun out there. You've done everything that you can, so have fun. Make sure you smile. That draws judges' attention to you. Make sure you have confidence in yourself. Lisa Baker was one of my clients, or afterwards she became one of my clients, and I thought, as a person out in the audience, that she was the best person on stage. But as she started to walk out, I could see her saying, these girls are better than I am. Her shoulders went down.
You could just see her mood and attitude shift.
And as she got into the middle, she was like this. Now, this is not a bodybuilding show. Get those shoulders up. Get them up as high as you can. Have the confidence and smile a lot when you're on stage. That brings people. I tell you, Sean won by a smile. That's what he actually won by. So make sure that you stand up nice and straight. Here's some things that judges do not like, no matter what any other competitor tells you. If you're on stage, bodybuilder or anyone else, do not stomp your foot so that we look at it. Do not do that. I'm going to tell you right now, I will put someone to the side because they're doing crazy ass shit. So I'm sorry, you might have to edit that out. But yeah, but don't do that, and make sure that you have that confidence. Know your poses before. I'm going to share with you a little bit about, you asked what song you should have or what music you should have. Whatever you like, whatever you can get into. I was sharing with a gentleman, and I thought, man, he's going to do horrible at posing, because nothing against country, but he wanted country. And I'm like,
Wasn't yours country?
That's what you want, then that's what we
What was
go
yours?
for. Hey, it's, no, believe me, and I'll tell you the story, I mean, as we go along. And he didn't have coordination. So I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? But he loved this song. And I said, Bob, whatever it is, you may have seen him before, but he's a pro now. After, I'm going to make a long story short here, after he posed on stage to his country song, he, with no coordination whatsoever, he got a standing ovation out of the entire crowd because he loved the song. And that you, as a competitor, are going to draw the crowd into you. If you're out there and you're nervous, the crowd gets nervous with you. Somebody asked a little while ago about music. What happens if your music doesn't play? What happens if you get the wrong song? Be a professional and go on anyway. So, I saw a gentleman on stage, and he put his music on, and it started, and then it just zipped, and nothing was there. And he's just standing there, and he's like, come on, get this stuff going. So he's standing there and the crowd is getting nervous for him and feeling bad. And he just goes like this. He says, okay. And he starts doing his poses, goes through his whole routine. And afterwards, we go back and I asked him, what happened to the music? And he smiled. He said, yeah, I only started the first part of it because this has happened before. And I got the entire crowd, before I even made one pose, clapping and standing for me because they messed up my music. So don't worry about that. You should know all of your poses and just keep going, make it a nice flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I do feel bad about your situation. You got probably the worst music choice. I don't know why that would have ever been queued up or even available. It goes back to picking a show and picking a promoter that knows what they're doing and has it structured. They have backups in place. I know at my show, it's been years since I've had a music mishap with someone because we spend a lot of time checking beforehand that the music works. It works at the venue on that equipment that day. But if something does go wrong, I make it clear at all competitors before we have competitor meetings, before prejudging, before finals, and we talk about it. If something goes wrong, just as Roy's saying, house music will come on or the MC will help get us through that point if there is a little mix-up. But going out and having fun on stage regardless, even if your music isn't exactly what you wanted it, we're gonna try our best to make it go as perfect and as smoothly as possible. Things happen. We can't control a music blip, the CD player stops going, for some reason the sound system just wants to be finicky. We work through it. So the more that you just let it roll off and just go out there and perform your finals routine is really what we're talking about here, the better response you're gonna get from the audience, the better you're gonna feel about it. Don't be embarrassed about what happened with the sound system or anything like that.
The only thing I will say is make sure that it is clean, especially for NGA shows. We just don't condone a lot of the filth that's out there. I mean, find a PG version.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, we say it's a family event. Is this something you want a 5-year-old in the audience listening to? Think about it that way. Yes, please pick a song that motivates you and that gets you hyped up, but it's still a family atmosphere and we want to keep it that way. If we start getting profanities on stage, the music will cut off, it will stop. That will be your posing routine. Feel free to finish your time. But the music
I might have Jesus Loves Me queued up just in case somebody has profanity on theirs. I'm going to start playing that one. I'm just kidding.
Another thing that I've seen in the past, we tapped in several times, a quarter turn right. Always quarter turn right. There is no quarter turn left. We had 5 people lined up or 6 people lined up, myself. I was the last one and there's 5 other people in front of me. The first guy turned left because you're afraid. I mean, you don't know, you may not hear what's going on. And just because he turned left, the guy behind him turned left and it was a chain reaction. Now I am looking at all of these guys looking at me and I just went, you guys are wrong. And they did, because just remember, it's always right turn. Quarter turn right, quarter turn right, quarter turn right. Unless it is bikini, which you're probably the only one. All the others are guys in here. So they're always quarter turns. But bikini.
We got one over here. She's under the lights, man.
But the bikini, you might do a half turn, which is you face the back, you face the front, you'll walk back, you'll walk forward. There's 6 organizations that sometimes I permeate through, and each one of them are a little bit different. But with the NGA, which is one we promote here the most, it's a half turn, face the rear, walk to the rear, half turn, face the front, walk to the front, and that's basically it. Unless you are putting your routine together, and when you put your routine, it is always a T walk. A T, how do you make a T? It goes up, over, across, and back.
Yeah, do we want to make that clear for everyone real quick? What we're talking about for T walk.
Yeah, I'll actually even show.
Okay.
You're gonna do your T walk.
So,
Here for everything.
so men's physique and women's bikini and women's figure perform what's called a T-walk. So a T-walk is essentially you're walking the letter T. So imagine on the stage, someone drew a gigantic letter T on stage, and you're walking to the points of the T.
We'll have tape at one with a number one here. So come to the number one. You know a T-walk, right? Okay. You're going to start here. This is the middle of the stage. There's a right and a left. You're going to walk to the front. Stop. And then do 1 to 2 poses. A lot of promoters will say do 1 or 2 poses or 3 poses. Just do 1 or 2 poses, wait for a few seconds, turn to the right. Go to the right, take 4 or 5 steps, you go there, you'll stop, do 1 or 2 poses. Now you go all the way to the other side. Stop, do 1 or 2 poses. Now, this is where it kind of gets confusing sometimes. Sometimes a promoter will tell you to go off to the side, or you come back to the center, and you want to leave the audience and the judges with your best shot. And usually, make sure that you are facing the audience. If your best shot is a back shot, you do this back shot, whatever that back shot is. If it's a girl with a bikini or figure, you do that shot. But always leave facing or leave the audience with the front shot, because bikini or figure or some of the females will do a curtsy and then walk off stage. But the T-walk is a very simple thing, and that's where everyone gets so nervous about. So thanks very much, I appreciate it. And then walk off stage. The others, you will perform your own routine, and this is where you are as creative as possible. Whatever song it is that you like, whatever you can get into, believe me, you will bring the audience to you instead of you being nervous or whatever it is that's making you nervous. Bring it out to the audience. And the audience, remember, if you go to a concert, you don't go somewhere and say, oh, I hope this band sucks. You think, I want the best show out there. And that's what these people are giving you, so give it to them. Sometimes they're not clapping or whatever, just make them clap. You know, when I walk out on stage, I always put it in my mind, my second step, if everyone isn't clapping and on their feet just about, then I look at them and say, what's wrong with you guys? But it draws them into the whole routine. So those are the things that we're going to be doing at the end of the show or the finals of the show.
So just to be clear then, what he's talking about is the finals portion of a show. So just to run it through one time to make it really clear again, men's bodybuilding, men's classic physique, women's physique will do an individual routine that they can choreograph themselves however they want with their own music. As long as it's clean. Yeah. Women's bikini, women's figure, and men's physique, board shorts, they would do a T-walk at finals is their presentation to the audience, okay? So I know we've gone back and forth talking about posing routines. I just want to make that clear what the different divisions, how they pose for finals.
Now, go ahead.
All right, just a quick question about the posing. So for the classic physique, I know there's only like a handful of poses compared to the open category, but when I do, or if somebody does their normal routine, let's say later on in the night, they're not limited to those 5.
Correct.
You can do any.
And then how long are the routines?
It depends on the show.
Yeah,
Depends
look at
on the
the
promoter
show.
and the show. Ask them.
Yeah, you'll see 60 to 90 seconds.
The majority of the time it's 60 seconds for amateurs. The pros get 90 seconds.
Okay.
But if it's a small show, depending on the size of the show, you will get that amount of time. Some, you go out, you do 2 poses, and then you're off the stage. If it's a super large show, we don't
And then
usually have
just
those.
one other quick question, like for let's say a front double bicep or something, are people allowed to stomach vacuum?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
What was the question? If you're going to do a front double bicep, can you do a vacuum?
Or if I can lose points for that?
No, you won't lose points. The difference between differentiating bodybuilding from classic physique, number one, we're not looking for those big mass monsters. I remember when Arnold said he's the one who brought the classic back about, because he said the guys are getting so big and so bulky. A lot of people, I wanted to be like that at one time, but now they've gotten so big and so bulky, it's not appealing personally to me anymore. So they brought back the classic physique. It has a height and a certain weight that you have to show. And the thing that they are not looking for in classic physique is the most muscular. We're not looking for that. So it's going to be a sort of a downgrade from the cuts and striations and the vascularity. That's what we are not looking for in classic physique. So you'll be a little bit smoother for that. But bodybuilding, you want to go all out. You want to get as many cuts, as large as you can, vascularity, everything. You want to be as stinky gross as you can. Yeah, exactly. So that's the difference between those two. Thank you. And then physique, you want to make sure that you are as smooth and flowing as possible. There's a lot of reasons that physique has come about. Bodybuilders who have horrible chicken legs. That's why physique pretty much came out. That's what we're saying, but that's one of the reasons. And you just have to find out which is your physique. That's where you want to find out where you want to go. Sometimes you want to do 2 different shows or 2 different classes to find out where you do the best. So when it comes to physique for women, figure and bikini, the difference is it's pretty much the same as for the men. Physique for women is the bodybuilding for men. You want to be as big and as cut and as strong as you can on that side. And then figure, it's kind of downgraded just a little bit. And they're looking for the definition between the muscles, but not the striations. We're not looking for the cuts. We're not looking for the vascularity. So down in Dayton, I remember a show where 2 girls came in and they were as cut and as fit as I have ever seen 2 females come in. But they went in bikini and they went in figure. They were too good for those classes. And if they just would have went in physique, they would have blown everyone away. But they were asking, why did we lose in bikini? And every judge said the same thing. You were too big, you were too cut, and you shouldn't have been in bikini. That was not your class. And figure, pretty much the same way. They just had too much. So make sure that you get information from others and yourself, whichever you like the most, and that's the classes that you go in. Now, are there any things that you have in particular that you want to know about judging? What we're looking for, or what the criteria is for that particular?
Okay, so let's say like I'm 5'8", so for classic physique, what is the weight requirement for that?
I believe the classic physique is, would they go medium?
It's by weight, not height, though.
It's probably like,
Yeah, but for the classic physique, it is, you go by weight classes.
right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weight.
Okay, 2 inches or
I
so,
believe
it's
it's
10, 15.
156, 172, and then over 172.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have printouts up here that anyone that wants to come take a look, ask some questions. These are NGA rulebooks. The ones I was talking about, go on nationalgym.com. You can print off or save a copy of the PDF. But you flip into it, and it goes through every individual class. It tells you what are the classes, how they break down by weight or height. It also tells you the mandatory poses, and it tells you in words, what are they looking for? Exactly what Roy's describing here for bodybuilding, to be striated, large, developed muscles. And then when you go through each class, you'll see that step down in not looking for vascularity, not looking for as many cuts as you step through the different classes. And so we try to put it in writing to make it clear for everyone. It's not the judge that shows up that day, what do they want to see? It's what the rule book says. And this is what we try to follow.
And we've had several times in the bikini, I've had more discrepancy in bikini than anywhere else. And remember, this is a bodybuilding show. So we are looking for who has, it's a tie, who has the most muscle? Bottom line, who has the most muscle? When you go into, for women, it is physique, which is actually bodybuilding. That's where you want to be as cut and as big and as striated as you can be, because that's what we're looking for. That's the criteria. When it goes to physique, we're not looking for striations. We're not looking for vascularity. We're not looking for the cuts. But we are looking for the differentiation between the muscles. You can see this is your shoulder, this is your arm, this is the forearm, the legs, some.
You should still be able to see the abs. We're just not looking for full striations down the side as well. We're not looking for more vascularity popping on top, but still seeing the muscle. We want to see the muscle in the definition.
And your conditioning.
Yep.
Myself, I want to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, and if there's ever questions and you need additional help or your coach isn't quite sure what the criteria is, we're more than happy to pull out the actual words, talk to them. And we can also look at past shows. We can take, for the NGA, we can go look at the NGA universe, so the top competitors from the past year, and we can show you, here is what was picked as the ideal for that category. And you can use that as a comparison to say, where are you trying to target? Where do you think you're gonna end up here? Are you gonna end up as a women's physique competitor, or are you really fitting more in as a women's figure competitor? And so we can look at pictures to give you some guidance there. Obviously, a lot of this sport is subjective. There's not a computer that's just going to look at a couple pictures and measure and analyze and say, that's the winner, that's the loser. No, there obviously is some subjective comparison here, and there isn't a scorecard that you're gonna see that says this person won on calves, this person won on delts, this person won on abs. It doesn't work like that. We're looking at a total package, and yes, one competitor is going to win at some points, another's gonna win at some other parts of the physique. It has to be a complete package together as one, and it has to work together.
And as Derek has said, at the end of the show, who represents that class with the group of people that are on stage with you right at that moment? Mm-hmm. So I educate the judges. You can't look at someone's reputation, what they used to look like, what they are going to look like, or how hard they've been working. You cannot look at any of those types of things. You have to look at who's on stage right now. So that's what we are looking for as a judge.
Yeah. And we said this earlier, don't hesitate to reach out to us as promoters as well. I mean, I have had a lot of people say, oh, I'm a first-time competitor, I have no idea what division to be in. And I said, well, my first answer is consult with your coach. And if your coach isn't sure, I'll say, send me pictures. And I'll say, I would suggest these. I mean, we can tell.
If you don't like your coach, there's a lot of coaches out there.
Yeah, find one you like.
Get to someone who has a good reputation, that you have rapport with, and that gets along with you. I know some of my clients, we just did not get along, and I said, here's some other coaches for you, and I let them go.
And that right there is a sign of a good coach, someone who knows when a client isn't right for them. There's been times where sometimes clients outgrow their coach and they need someone else to push them to the next level, and it's time to part ways. And there's other times where a client, you should be scared of situations where you walk in and your coach right away, before they know anything about you, is saying, I need you to go take this supplement, that supplement, this one. It's like, whoa, time out, hold on. You need to learn about a person a little bit before you start trying to push them down a path. And obviously, we promote natural bodybuilding. I would tell you, if you walk into a coach and right away they're telling you, oh, go take these hormones or these extra things that you're not really sure about, you should probably run away. You should probably go ask some more questions.
Especially if you haven't had a blood panel.
Yeah.
Find out what you're deficient in. And as Jared was saying a few seconds ago, I hate saying this on my own part, but I am very good at getting people started getting them to their first pro card, and then I like sending them off to someone else, believe it or not. And I hate saying that because, you know, I want this ego thing like, yeah, I can take it all the way to the moon. But that's where I am good at, and I'm glad that you shared that, because some coaches, they're not ready to take you to the next step, and you will outgrow them, and you have to find someone with that reputation that can take you to your next step. All right, that's all I have really for judging, because I know that we said that we're going to have this from 11 to 1, and I think it is exactly.
Right at
Yeah. So we want to respect your time, but I know from our side, I think all of us are willing to stay a little bit later and spend more individual time with anyone. We also had some posing videos. If people wanted to go a little more in depth into a little bit of posing here, we can do that as well. But we do want to be respectful of people's time here for what you need. So I mean, just as a pulse of the room, what questions are people still looking for that we haven't answered yet? You'd still like some more information on?
Is registration currently open for the Monster Mash?
Yes, the Monster Mash. Our website is actually CinciNatty.com. Yeah, well, I know about a week ago I had an issue with some security certificate on the website expired and they had to fix it, but I think it's good now. I'm gonna try it right now just to make sure. It looks good for me, so please let me know. If you have an issue, give me a call or something and we'll get you fixed up.
When is the deadline for registration for your guys' shows?
My show, you can register all the way up until check-in. So the day before the show, when we do all the weigh-ins and heights, that's the last opportunity. I'd much rather you register early because I do order free competitor shirts for everyone and I try to get sizes that people ask for. So if you wait until the day before the show, I'm gonna have extra shirts. I just might not have the sizes that you want or something. It makes my job a lot easier if you register early.
And there's also some incentives for registering so that we can prepare. Number one, register early, you get a discount.
Yep.
You register on time or a little bit later, that makes us prepare more, then you have to pay the full price.
Yep.
And don't ask for a discount.
Yep. Yeah, I think all of us have early bird discounts that if you register, I don't know, maybe about a month before the show, you'll get a discount. So please register early. It makes our life easier, and then it's one last thing you have to think about. One other point with that, a common question I get is about registering for a show and also having in our case, an NGA card, so being a member of an organization. There's many different bodybuilding organizations. To compete in any of their shows, you have to be a member of that organization. Same thing for us. So for the NGA, if you want to compete in the Monster Mash, you want to compete in the Rocktober Classic, the Steel Valley Classic, you have to be an NGA member. What's nice, it's probably one of the nicest ones out there, for the NGA, when you buy your membership to be a part of the National Gym Association, it's good for 1 year from when you purchase it. So I tell people, wait until the month of your show to buy your NGA card because it's good for a full year. So there's no need to go buy it 3 months ahead of time if you're not competing that month. Buy your NGA card the month of your show. You can do it at the show, you can do it online right away there, it's no big deal. It's easier if you do it a few weeks before if you can, but just do it the month of your first show so you get a full year. There's some organizations you register and it's only good for calendar year. So if you would compete at my show in October, it would run out in December and you'd have to buy another one the next year. And we're not trying to nickel and dime people. Buy it, you get it for a whole year from the time you buy it.
That's all on the NGA.
Buy it at least 2 weeks before because you can get your number by that time.
So you have to have membership with the organization, and then separately is registration for each show that you want to compete in. So as long as you have a valid membership for the organization, you can register for any shows in that organization. Okay?
And if you want to go with any of the questions that you have, you can go to the NGA website and look up all of these things, the rules, the regulations, the criteria, timelines, past shows. You see a lot of pictures of what the winners look like, and that's, of course, you want to say, you're always comparing yourself, can I beat this person? Or, that's what I do. But if you can compete, but just come in and be the best that you can be in your category.
So your next show is in November.
Mine is November 19th, the week before Thanksgiving, and I thought that was the present. You can eat Thanksgiving. I thought after Thanksgiving, before, only the diet.
Yeah, don't even. My son wrestled, and their big tournament would be over Christmas break. So he didn't get Thanksgiving or Christmas. That sucked.
I wrestled for 9 years, and I had never eaten a Christmas or Thanksgiving meal for those years.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah. My mom was so mad.
It was awful. Has everybody been through tanning before, or some of you all competing for the first time? Okay. Just realize you're going to be nude for the most part. Guys, sometimes you wear a little sock sleeve-like thing. Just be prepared. Everybody goes through it. Women, we're in the buff. So I will tell you, my first competition, I was like, you want me to what? Yeah. Bend over? No. So, I mean, just if you have any modesty, after your first show, it's gone.
Normally by that time you're so dehydrated. Or
you don't care.
You don't even care. You're like, I just want to get on stage. I'm ready for this.
Believe me, I've had to tan and shave and do things to people that was like, no, I'm not, I hate to say it, I'm not gay, so you remember.
Yeah, on the tanning front, just to hit a couple highlights, there's a few different companies out there that provide spray tan services. I'll tell you, at my show, almost everyone uses the on-site spray tan provider. Some people, you can buy stuff that you can apply yourself at home. I do not allow, there's a product, the one that I don't allow is called Dream Tan, but any products like that are touted as a wipe-on, wipe-off product, not allowed. They make a mess, they get everywhere, they destroy venues. And personally, I think the color looks ridiculous. I know as a judge, the color is bad. It makes you gold versus tan or brown. But there are other products that are wipe-on. Pro Tan is one of them. You can wipe on a day or two before and another coat the night before, and it will tan you, the same chemistry that they use in spray tan, but you have to do it beforehand. You have to do it earlier. But the spray tan, it's very nice. You can show up the day before the show, check in the night before, they'll spray you, they'll put it on, you'll be like, I don't think I'm dark enough. You'll wake up the next day and all of a sudden, boom, like there's a chemical reaction that turns you brown. It's the same reaction as you cut an apple and it turns brown over time. It's the same reaction that's happening here. But the spray tan, for it to work well, you need to, you need to shave, get the hair off your body, otherwise the spray tan will stick to it and now it looks like you have fur on stage. Not a good look. Shave and exfoliate. Clean off all the dead skin, the dry spots. Pay attention to elbows, knees, heels. Clean all of those very well, and to exfoliate, you typically want to look for something like I hate to say this, the thing that I like to use is either salt or sugar scrubs. The sugar scrubs, they smell really good and you're so hungry at that point, you almost want to eat the thing. But getting some kind of exfoliant that does not have moisturizer in it. So you can make something yourself, you can use salt and sugar and stuff to kind of scrub at it, but don't use moisturizer because that will make a blotchy tan. Your skin needs to be clean, no moisturizer, so that when they spray, it applies evenly and you don't get blotchiness.
The one thing that might be a little gross for you guys, do not put on deodorant.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because wherever you put that deodorant on, you're going to turn it into like a Hulk green.
You will be green.
Deodorant, cologne, don't put anything else on your skin that's gonna mess with that chemical reaction.
If you sign up for the tan at the location, most of them will supply your prep. So they'll tell you exactly what to use, what products to use, what products not to use, and when to, like, how far in advance should you shave? You shouldn't shave right before you tan.
Before the show.
You know, there are things that there's a process that you do to prepare your skin for that, and just follow what they do. And trust me, it does make a difference. There are also some supplements. Dandelion root does also have a tendency to turn you green, so you might want to avoid that one.
I had a quick question that I don't think anybody's touched on. Just for clarification, this is my first show getting a member of the NGA. What are your guys' thoughts, or what do you guys do, like competitors, when it comes to posing oil?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of make their skin shine.
Yeah.
You get glazed, that's part of it. So you get tanned and then they glaze you right before you go on stage.
Yeah, so the way that tanning works, to just kind of lay out the whole thing, is that if you sign up for spray tans, the way they typically work is that at check-in the day before the show, you'll get sprayed with 1 or 2 coats then. The next day, they'll typically do touch-ups in the morning, so as you sleep, sometimes people rub things by accident, things get a little messed up, no big deal, don't worry about it. They can fix it. They'll do touch-ups throughout the day, and then before you go on stage, so think the expediters are lining people up, think 3 classes before you're ready to go on, the expediters will say, this class, go back to the spray tan, which should be on site at your venue, and they'll glaze people, apply posing oil, glazing, same thing. And they'll do that as part of the service that you pay for.
And also, one other thing about the rub-on tans. If you're on stage and you're not in the best of shape, or you start sweating, it looks like chocolate or something has just been poured on you, and it starts coming off. So that's another reason that you should get spray tan, because it does not run the way that some of these others do.
Any preference to facial hair?
No. Facial, I get this question, facial hair and tattoos, at least, quite frankly, I'm looking at about 50 to 60% of the people have tattoos, and there's facial hair does not really, unless you have one of those really long beards, that would actually
Hide
some of the muscles that you have in your chest.
So let's say with the, sorry.
No, I was going to say, essentially, like with the facial hair and the tattoos and stuff like that, you're not going to get counted off for it, but as judges, they can only judge you based off of what they can see. So if you're, like if you have blacked out arms, like just tattoos everywhere, just super dark, and it's messing up with your symmetry, I mean, that's what they've got to judge you for.
2012 at the World's Competition INBF, there was a Aborigine from Australia that was doing the Worlds, and I don't know if you know the Aborigines, but he started here and tattoos all the way up his entire body down to his heels, and he won the show. So tats don't really matter as much anymore. A lot of people have them. Facial hair, as long as it looks good.
This is my last question. With the tattoos in mind, I have a tattoo on my right arm. You mentioned quarter turn to the right, quarter turn to the right. If, let's say, just hypothetically, somebody says side tricep, and do they say quarter turn to the right before that? Like everybody has to hit the side tricep from the same angle, or if I want to hit my side tricep from the side without the tattoo?
The side, you'll do both. So you'll do one to the right, one to the back, one to the left. You will do them to both sides. And it's usually the chest right before the side tricep.
Okay, thank you.
And it's not having the tattoo, it's if the tattoo makes it difficult for us to see the definition. That's the only time. And it's not that we're saying, oh, he's got a tattoo and it's making it harder for us to see. We just don't see it. So it's just one of those things that it's not, it doesn't mark you off. It's just you have to be conscious if that is the case. And then go back to your posing. Figure out how to pose to show it off the best you can.
Yeah, I don't think I've personally encountered a tattoo while I've been judging that I've looked at the tattoo that it threw something off from a symmetry or anything. I think judging,
you see through that.
Yeah, you don't really notice it.
We can see pretty well. Yeah. And also, I mean, not so much for guys, but women, the tanning does provide bikini bite, which holds your suits in place for the most part.
What else? quick tanning stuff.
Well, I can run through, these are the things you guys said at the beginning. Eating, general competing, first time competing, tanning, trunks and gear needed, how to sign up, prep, how to help inform others, and then fitness in general. I think we covered it all.
Do you have anything on your mind that pertains to a contest?
I was just going to look at the requirements on their sheets.
Would it be helpful if we tossed on posing videos? You can go to the National Gym website and you can watch the same YouTube videos. Any reason you guys want to watch them here and go through anything?
Yeah, I'll watch them all here.
Well, I can toss those on. If you give me a minute, I'll go work on that. But if you want to ask any
On my website, there's a link to the NGA site so that you can see the videos on my site as well. I try to give you guys this, one-stop shop kind of thing if you need something.
If you guys have no more questions, thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate that, and we'll watch the videos here. I'm gonna move these seats out of the way.
Watch your glasses.